Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Wednesday, it's February 19th. Today is day 502. It's been several weeks since I've heard from some of my contacts in Gaza. I know that they've returned to their homes in the north of the Gaza Strip in Gaza City. They were in touch right after the ceasefire began a couple of weeks ago. I presume that they continue to be okay. That they are probably not in touch because they're so busy working for the development agency that they lead, distributing aid, seeking to recover bodies out of the rubble, seeking to repair the homes of which the majority in North Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. We're not hearing much about what's happening there in the enclave these days, just little bits and pieces here and there. Despite the current ceasefire, in the last 24 hours, at least 3 Palestinians have been killed and 11 additional have been injured in Israeli attacks across the Gaza Strip in the past 24 hours. We know that Israel will allow the entry of mobile homes for displaced Palestinians into the Gaza Strip, according to Israeli officials. Hamas has previously been accused of delaying deliveries, according to news reports. Aid workers and medics have said that they fear that Palestinians who've left Gaza for health reasons, for medical treatment, may not be allowed to return. This is in light of Trump's proposal to displace all of the territory's current inhabitants. Hamas has made a radical offer seeking to bring the negotiations related to the ceasefire agreement to a complete end. Today, Hamas made the offer to release all of the remaining captives in phase 2 release all of the remaining captives, dead and alive, in phase 2 in order to bring a complete end to Israel's war on Gaza. Hamas says that it seeks a lasting ceasefire, a full Israeli pullout from the Gaza Strip, that it rejects the conditions for Israel's removal from the Strip. Hamas's spokesperson Hazem Qassem issued the details in a statement today, Wednesday, to release all of the remaining captives in one go. He said the occupation's condition of removing Hamas from the Gaza Strip is a ridiculous psychological war, and the withdrawal or disarmament of the resistance from Gaza is unacceptable. Qassem also addressed the group's decision to increase the number of captives to be freed in this next coming swap on Saturday. The amount of hostages that will be released on Saturday has been increased from 3 to 6. He said that decision was announced by Hamas, their leader, Khalil al-Hayya, a day earlier in an apparent bid to accelerate the implementation of phase 2 of the deal. He said that this is to show how serious Hamas is in progressing to phase 2. This proposal came after the U.S.'s president, Donald Trump, spoke out against the phased weekly release of the captives taken from Israel, and after families of those remaining in Gaza have called for all of them to be freed together. The total number of Palestinian prisoners that have been released thus far is 1,135 from Israeli prisons, and Israel is scheduled to release 502 more on Saturday. After last week's handover, the number of hostages released by Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad has reached 25 since January 19th. Meanwhile, just today, it was announced that there's a freeze on foreign assistance from the United States that's now been extended to the Palestinian Authority's security forces. They've never been popular because of their collaboration with the Israeli security establishment. The freeze comes as the PA has struggled to maintain its rule in pockets of the West Bank and has jockeyed to govern parts of the post-war Gaza Strip. According to the Washington Post, the PA is struggling to control a new generation of Palestinian militancy in the West Bank that's centering in the north, in the refugee camps in Jenin and other cities, and is drawing support from widespread frustration with the aging authority leadership, particularly headed by President Mahmoud Abbas, who is now 89 years old. Netanyahu has said that tomorrow will be a hard day for Israel as the bodies of hostages are set to be returned by Hamas. Hamas has indicated that 4 bodies will be returned, and they will include the 2 youngest people who've been held. They will include those of the Bibas family. We've wondered whether or not they were dead or alive. Shiri and her young children, Kiffer and Ariel, are said to be among those whose bodies will be returned. Kiffer and Ariel were aged 9 months and 4 years old when they were kidnapped by Hamas on October 7th of 2023. In addition, Hamas will hand over the bodies of 4 total deceased hostages this week. That's what Netanyahu's office said in a statement this week. It does look like negotiations for phase 2 are set to begin this week. Israel and Hamas have said that they would open those negotiations. Israeli Foreign Minister Sa'ar announced this yesterday. As I mentioned in the update yesterday, Prime Minister Netanyahu appointed Ron Dermer, a close confidant with strong ties to the Trump administration, to lead the negotiations. In Lebanon, there was a response to the announcement that the IDF would remain in 5 specific locations in South Lebanon. The Lebanese government yesterday said that it considers any Israeli presence on its soil an occupation, and it reserves the right to use all means to ensure Israel's withdrawal. Late afternoon yesterday, on Tuesday, on the West Coast in California, there was a protest at the UCLA campus. It was a nonviolent protest that broke out where a large group of pro-Palestinian protesters marched on the UCLA campus. Authorities said it was being actively monitored. It started at about 3 p.m. Local news captured footage which featured signs condemning the University of California's financial commitments to Israeli-owned businesses. The footage showed several dozens of students marching through the campus, eventually gathering at the Westwood Plaza in front of the Charles E. Young South. Demonstrations were peaceful as of about half an hour or so later. The local Channel 5 News said that the protests were in relation to the Israel-Hamas war and the Israeli occupation of Gaza. They said they're nothing new to the UCLA campus, that last spring there were several demonstrations that had erupted into bouts of violence as pro-Israeli counter-protesters clashed with students who were staging an encampment. I also wanted to let you know, you probably have heard that His Holiness Pope Francis has been in the hospital with pneumonia. Please pray for him and his health, for all those who are suffering, for our church leaders, our political leaders, for those in the Middle East and around the world. Psalm 30, verse 2 says, Lord my God, we called to you for help, and you healed me. Continue to work and to pray for comprehensive and permanent ceasefire as we continue in our efforts towards peace and a just solution. May the Lord go before us. Amen.